Hello everyone, welcome to the Destiny 2 Infosplosion, where today we'll be reviewing the reveal presentation and going over all of the things that we know of coming to Destiny 2. There will be spoilers of every kind in this video, you have been warned. And also, this goes without saying, this is a build that is months before the game is coming out, and things are always subject to change. If you watched the reveal live, then this video probably isn't going to contain too many things you don't already know. The first thing shown off was Homecoming, the entry mission in Destiny 2, where the tower is attacked by Dominus Ghaul and the Red Legion. The cutscene was pretty awesome, but then we hop into some gameplay. First thing, right off the bat, we have a new gun foundry, Viced. This weapon is a solar auto rifle, so it appears that elements on primary style weapons will continue to be a thing. The weapon setup is no longer primary, special, and heavy, but rather primary, energy, and power. Primary will continue to be the auto, pulse, scout, and hand cannon, but the energy slot, typically with an elemental property on the weapon, can also have things like submachine guns and sidearms. The power slot is where your snipers, shotguns, fusion rifles, rockets, grenade launchers, all that kind of stuff goes. The weapons that deal these big chunks of damage all at once. If you want to go scout hand cannon, two primary weapons in primary and energy, you can do that. We'll go over all of the guns we saw in the reveal in another video. Here we have a nice clip of 3 new subclasses, one for each class. The Sentinel for Titan, Arcstrider for Hunter, and Dawnblade for the Warlock. The Sentinel turns the Titan into Captain America, essentially, giving you a shield to block with or to throw at enemies. The Arcstrider feels somewhat similar to Blade Dancer, but now giving you a staff to whack enemies with as you leap around all over the place, almost like a monk-style subclass. The Dawnblade of the Warlock gives you a sword to launch huge energy projectiles at enemies. Again, we'll take a much closer look at the subclasses at the event individually. There's also a third ability we'll talk about soon called your class ability. After Ikora's Nova Bomb on a Cabal ship, we enter a new area of the tower, and the character whips out what I can only assume to be the previously rumored and data-mined exotic rocket launcher Dubious Volley from years ago. It might come under a new name, but it is certainly reminiscent of that thumbnail from long ago. Looks like it unleashes a ton of projectiles in just one rocket. That is a lot of damage. We'll see a couple more Dubious Volley sightings throughout the video. In the next clip, we see the Warlock using their class ability, Rift. Rift can be spec'd one of 2 ways, with steady slow healing, called Healing Rift, or a damage boost called Empowering Rift. As long as you're in the circle, you're going to be buffed. We'll head to the next part of the gameplay where we board the Cabal ship, and looky look here, a Suros pulse rifle with void damage. Suros also has hand cannons. I think Omelon is getting into the pulse rifle game now. Lots of foundries diving into the other weapon types. Here we can see the grenade launcher whipped out for the first time, and having played with it, I can tell you it behaves exactly like you think a launcher would. The projectile has an arc to it, small AoE splash damage. Picture a grenade launcher. You got it. Don't alter your first vision of grenade launcher. We'll move forward to this point where the Warlock takes out a minigun, technically in the auto rifle category, this one being the exotic, Suros-looking sweet business. But hang on, this is a primary weapon, and the pulse rifle is also a primary weapon. So, wait, what's up with that? Well, the current theory is that weapons that aren't power weapons, that have elemental properties on them, will go in the energy slot, and weapons without elements will go in the primary slot. That's why you can have something like 2 hand cannons, 1 kinetic and 1 solar, or something. So that was some gameplay, pretty cool. The next part of the stream goes into story details. The Red Legion have invaded the tower, the city, and Ghaul wants the Traveler for himself, feeling that he should have been chosen to gain the Traveler's light. The link between Guardians and the Traveler has been broken, and the Vanguard scattered across the new planets we'll be exploring. Each planet will feature one of the 3 main Vanguard, and it seems like you'll eventually reunite all of them after doing what feels like will be individual story arcs for each of the Vanguard characters. That's just my guess, though. Throughout these clips, we get a nice spread of some guns and armor we'll be seeing. Warlocks, as usual, looking really good. Caught this short clip of what looks like a baby Gjallarhorn, little grenade launcher, baby Gjallarhorn. Saw this white-looking weirdo, maybe grenade launcher gun. Might be an exotic. Then we got another shot of the potential dubious volley rocket, plus a bunch of other weapons going on the screen now. If this isn't proof enough of this dubious volley rocket launcher, then I do not know what is. One thing incredibly underused in Destiny 1 was the use of vehicles, and we've been seeing the Interceptor return in a couple of clips here and there, but these tanks have also been in a bunch of clips, so perhaps some vehicle play will return to Destiny. I shouldn't even say return, it should almost say premiere in Destiny 2. The next thing spoken about was exploration. As we know, exploration in Destiny and the patrol mode have essentially been an afterthought, besides maybe in the Taken King. Patrol mode was, for the most part, nearly pointless. Well, it seems like Bungie is trying to invest a bit more into it. Let's start with the story, though, with the Red Legion campaign being the main storyline. More cinematics and more missions than in previous iterations of the game, whether or not that means the entirety of Destiny 1's 3 years or individual expansions is going to be determined. Crucible is obviously returning. However, it's had a lot of restructuring. First off, all modes are now 4v4, including Trials, which will be returning in some way in between the launch of the game and the Osiris expansion. It won't be right at launch, but it shouldn't be too far out. This new 4v4 structure allows for Bungie to make maps in a more consistent way, as opposed to having designed some maps for 6v6 and some maps for 3v3. Countdown is one of the new modes, there might be more, which is Destiny's take on attack/defense bomb planting that you know from other games. And yes, there will be a raid, but as usual, no information was given besides 2 very short clips of some characters running. Now for some new stuff. Exploration has had a much greater focus this time around. First off, one of the biggest things is that you no longer need to go to orbit to change destinations. Thank you. Finally. Public events now come with heroic objectives. Hopefully they'll be a little more engaging than in the past. New stuff includes adventures and treasure maps to follow. There will be side questing in Destiny, with new NPCs with their own situations in their own parts of the maps. Finally, there are lost sectors, dungeons with their own boss and loot. Whether or not this will reward endgame style loot is obviously to be determined. All of this is not going to be too hard to track though, because we are finally getting maps. For example, public events will be posted on maps to show where and when they will be happening. So, where are we going to be doing all this new patrol stuff? Earth, Nessus, Titan, and Io are the new planets we'll be exploring in Destiny 2. Well, Earth isn't new, but we'll have a new area of Earth to explore, with the European Dead Zone being a very prominent location. It's where we'll start to rebuild and regroup. Titan is where Zavala flees to try to figure out how to gain back his power, fitting location considering his class, a moon of Saturn engulfed in methane oceans with basically no land mass. Nessus is where you'll find Cade and probably his storyline adventure taken over by the Vex. And Io is where you'll find Ikora. Io is the last place the Traveler touched before the collapse, so it's a very sacred place to people like Ikora, other Guardians, and especially other Warlocks. It really seems like Bungie has realized the exploration aspect of their game was severely lacking, so I'm hoping it turns out pretty well. Some areas, like possibly the home base in the European Dead Zone, will support up to 26 players in a single area, at least according to the videos shown at the reveal. Next up, we have the social aspect of the game. Clans are finally coming to the game, like actually in the game, and more than just a list of online players. Clans are going to have levels and rewards attached to them, and you can contribute whether you play every single day or just once a week, and everyone gets rewards for being in clans. Stuff like the Nightfall, Raids, and Trials never had matchmaking because Bungie wanted dedicated groups to tackle the challenges instead of possibly creating a toxic, random matchmaking environment. But they still want solo players to be able to experience this content if they don't have a clan. Introducing guided games. Guided games will allow solo players to match up with clan groups for various activities. Guided games will also allow nearly full clan teams to search for a sixth member for a raid in case someone in their group couldn't make it. It's not a complete replacement for any LFG websites out there or anything like that, but it's definitely a step forward in terms of organizing players in-game. I understand that Bungie didn't want to give complete matchmaking. Their reasoning totally makes sense, and this is a great first step. Here's an example screen of the matchmaking process where we actually get to find out a little more about something like the Nightfall as well. Apparently, in the game, there are Nightfall passes, which we're not sure what those are yet. We can see a couple of modifiers here, and obviously we don't know what those are either. And this screen kind of gives you the idea of how it'll work. Matchmaking times might be long, dependent on what you're looking for, and Bungie is sure to mention that. But essentially, Bungie is pushing clans to be those pillars of the community, to set good examples, and to help guide solo or new players without them having to work through an LFG process. You and your clan will have the opportunity to make the community better and recruit new players. This game is meant to be played with others, and Bungie is really putting their foot down on that. Finally, let's get to PC. Destiny is coming to PC. We know this. But now we know how we will get it, and it's through Blizzard's Battle.net service exclusively. However, the PC release date is still up in the air and is not confirmed for a September 8th release like the console. Beta information is still up in the air as well for PC. Bungie wants to make sure the PC release doesn't feel like a crappy port of the game. There will be a ton of traditional PC options available. There are slight differences to the PC version to accommodate the differences between controller and keyboard, ultra-wide display support, uncapped frame rate, and much more. The PC version of the game played great at the event with no noticeable technical issues, for whatever that's worth. Consoles, on the other hand, they will be locked at 30 FPS. According to Luke Smith, the PS4 and/or PS4 Pro simply cannot run the game at 60 FPS with everything that's going on. The CPU is not strong enough, but the GPU has enough power to run it in 4K, at least on the PS4 Pro, although the Scorpio was not addressed, but I can't imagine will perform any different. The game looked gorgeous at 4K on both console and PC, but if frame rate is something that is really important to you, start saving for a PC. That is your Destiny 2 Infosplosion. Like I said, I'm going to be covering more specific stuff in some upcoming videos. Just wanted to give a big overview of all of the new information we learned over the past couple of days. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time.